Hello, I'm Natasha Chilingarian.
And I'm Michael Ogden. This is Shared Accounts with CU Times. What's that old saying? May snow showers bring May flowers? No, that might just be a Wisconsin thing. I don't know. We have already reached the end of May, which is crazy, and that means what? Nothing, except that I have a bunch of reports due at the end of the month. But the good news is we're heading into 6 weeks of summer. Again, that might just be a Wisconsin thing. Natasha, we really need to take this podcast on the road for a vacation. Where should we go?
Maybe Dublin? Didn't you see a really cheap flight there recently for
Oh,
like
yeah.
$200? Yeah, well, I think the
Yes.
flight price went up, but maybe when it comes back down, we can jump on that.
Oh, this just in from corporate. I'm being told our travel budget was cut.
Oh, darn it.
Great. Welcome to Shared Accounts with CU Times. Coming up on the pod, we'll be talking with Terrance Williams, CEO of TruStage. We last spoke with him about 6 months ago, just as he was beginning his new role at the helm of the organization in Madison, Wisconsin. He was taken over for Bob Trunzo, who is now retired. We'll be hearing from him today on how the past 6 months have been going and what his plans are for the future of TruStage. Really nice guy. I really enjoyed talking to him. Natasha and I had a really good time, so stay tuned for that. First up, got to take a break from the week. Check in with Natasha. Hey, Ed.
Hey, Em.
What'd you think of Terrance?
Oh, I thought he was really, really nice, really like approachable, but also just so professional and so passionate. You can
Yeah,
tell. And also just so like relaxed about the whole thing. I mean, it's such a big job, but
super chill.
really great guy, yeah.
I enjoyed it. So, what'd you watch this past week? Give me something good.
Alright, so yeah, I did watch something good,
Ooh,
not
okay.
exactly an uplifting movie, but I decided to
Of course
watch, which
not.
I had never seen before, The Killing Fields
Oh,
from the '80s.
my
Have you ever seen
God.
it?
Yes.
Well, because I talked about this before, I'm planning a trip to Thailand, which is actually gonna be a trip to a number of countries
Yeah.
over there in that region. So I will be
Oof.
going to Cambodia, and so I was told, "Oh,
Sounded
you
fun.
should see, The Killing Fields. It's a
Hmm.
good kinda historical, watch." So, yeah, like I said, not a very uplifting watch, but really well done,
Uh,
really harrowing. I mean,
yeah.
my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a bummer in the 80s, but
Yeah.
when I saw it, I'm glad you're going to be traveling out there. Again, by far, anybody I've known that's gone out there, or even travel writers, food writers, they say Cambodia, Vietnam, absolutely the best food in the world.
Oh, I can't wait.
I can't wait to hear about
Yeah, hopefully I will not have an intestinal issue or something like
it.
that. I have an appointment with a health clinic next month, so gonna
Okay.
see what kind of meds. I'm like, "Give me all the
Oh,
meds to in case something goes wrong."
my
Anyway,
goodness.
thinking positive, but yeah, I'm
Yeah,
very excited about the
good,
food, so
good.
anyway. What about you? What did you watch this past week?
Not a ton. I did finally get around to a movie, came out, God, a decade or more ago. It's called Now You See Me. It's about a group of magicians pulling tricks, but they're actually robbing a bank. I didn't spoil anything. The whole plot is around how they did it. It was fine.
Okay. Yeah.
Woody Harrelson's in it, some other people. It was okay.
Oh, I love Woody Harrelson.
I do too, in some things.
Did I ever tell you my Woody Harrelson story?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I actually interviewed him when I was a college reporter at my
What?
college newspaper. I'm sure I must have told you this at some point, but that was the I think that's probably the only, like, major celebrity I interviewed. I don't know what the reason was. He was doing something, he was coming through town. I don't know, some kind of a activism type event was going on. He was coming through Eugene, Oregon, where I went to
Okay.
school, University of Oregon. Did an interview with him, like a phone interview, and then when he came through, I actually got to meet him, and he was so sweet. He just, like, gave me this big hug, and,
Wow.
he's just very laid back, and the part that actually was disappointing, though, I got, like, a photo with him, like, I had a friend take a photo, and this was before you could use your phone, like, we didn't I think we just had flip phones back then, so it was, like,
Okay.
with a regular camera where you had to get the film developed, and the friend, like, lost the film, like, it
Oh,
rolled under
no.
a car or something, and I never got the picture with Woody Harrelson, so that was, like,
What year was this?
2004, probably?
Oh, I was trying to look up what movies he would have been doing.
Yeah, I can probably go back. I wasn't prepared to talk about this today, so I could probably go back and look it up and find the story I wrote, but anyway.
I love our unscripted conversations.
Yeah, didn't know I'd be talking about Woody
Oh,
Harrelson.
he was in Anger Management in 2003,
Huh,
so this is right after that. Okay,
yeah.
great. I love it. Good story.
Anyway, well, speaking of cool people, we
Yeah,
spoke with
sure.
Terrance
Nice
today.
segue. Yep.
We didn't focus on any one topic with him, obviously, because we just wanted to
Right.
kind of focus on him and his background, what he's doing now as the new leader of TruStage. But we hit on a few topics that I found particularly interesting, one of them being remote work.
Yep.
It was funny, he actually says that he's been asked that question, like, constantly since he joined, like, "Do we have to go back to the office with
Yeah.
the staff there?" But anyway, I was just gonna ask you a question about remote work, Michael,
Okay.
since we've been remote for so long. If, let's say, CU Times said, "All right, we have to go back." There is no office, obviously, but
Hmm.
near us, but if we had to go back into the office, how do you think you would handle that after being remote for so long?
I have no clothes to wear for an
Yeah,
office.
same.
That's my main concern. I don't know. I'd probably break out into a rash. I really don't know. How would you do?
Okay. I have no idea. I don't think I would handle it well at all. Again, also have no clothes. I wouldn't be able to just be totally relaxed, if there's people watching me all day. Like now I can just
Right.
moan and groan and complain and no one has to see me or hear that, or
Right.
I would avoid it at all costs if possible. I don't
Yeah.
think I could handle it. But at the same time, and Terrence talked about this in our interview,
Mhm.
he says he tries to get, because they're a remote workforce at
Yep.
TruStage, but they get people together in different regions of the country where there's a concentration of employees. And I love that
Uh-huh.
idea. Like I would love it if we could like once a month get together or
Oh, yeah, it was the hub concept,
yeah, city
that he
hub.
talked about. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, for now, we can continue being remote, which it sounds like
Please.
we're most comfortable with.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and get into our interview with Terrence. Among, a number of things, we talked about, remote work, obviously. He talks about the new headquarters at
Uh-huh.
TruStage,
Yep.
how that turned out to be a very environmentally friendly move for the company, which is interesting.
You know what? Stay tuned for that part. I thought that was really
Yeah.
interesting. I was really surprised by that.
Yeah, absolutely. And he also talks about his passion for mentorship, which was also very
Mhm.
fascinating. So we have all of that coming up next.
Hey, listeners, I want to mention our relatively new editorial feature for subscribers only called the Executive Briefing. This monthly newsletter, available by subscription only, is comprised of exclusive editorial content and analysis of credit union data, trends, and news info you will not find online because we don't put it online. It's only available to subscribers. Again, I've said that 3 times now. Subscribers. You'll get instant access to this content only in your inbox to help grow your organization to better serve your members. In May, we dissected the latest credit card data to figure out what credit union members want. Coming up in June, we're going to be focusing on the wins and losses for credit unions in the tough mortgage market. All of the new ways we're trying to get information to you in this digital world. And if you want to subscribe, go to cutimes.com/subscribe. That's cutimes.com/subscribe to get the executive briefing.
Okay, let's take a journey to the TruStage offices in Madison, Wisconsin. Joining us in the virtual studio today is TruStage President CEO Terrance Williams. Terrance, welcome to the show. It's great to meet you.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited about the conversation.
Yeah, we are too. So, Terrence, we last spoke with you, and I mean we as in Michael spoke with you about 6 months ago. And at that time you were just on day 27 as the new CEO of TruStage. So, this is kind of a check-in, like 6-month check-in with you here. What have the past 6 months on the job looked like for you since we last spoke? What have been your key priorities and things you've been working on?
Very fair question. I love it that you all knew that it was 27th. It was the 27th day when we last spoke. A lot has gone on over the last 6 months. When I stepped into officially into the role as the CEO, one of the first things I wanted to do was to really begin pulling my executive team together
Mhm.
to really examine all aspects of the company for us to really understand what are we really good at? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What might we need to be fully aware of that's around the corner? We also looked at the external environment, regulatory, just all the things that could be coming at us, trying to really assess, the headwinds and tailwinds that we would be facing the credit union movement, as well as at TruStage. So we went through this exercise that probably should have taken about 9 or 12 months, and we did it in about 3 or 4 months,
Oh, wow.
where
Oh,
we assessed the company from top to bottom to really understand all of those forces that I was kind of alluding to there. And through that, we were able to do a number of things that really helped set the stage for the vision for the organization.
Yeah.
The first one is we more or less reestablished that our mission, who we are as a company,
Hmm.
wasn't changing at all. You've
mhm,
heard me say a number of times, we believe a brighter financial future should be accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
That's always been our promise, our mission, and it remains true today. So that didn't change. But because of some of the forces, external, internal, et cetera, that we're dealing with, we ended up crafting a new vision for the organization. We created an enterprise ambition for the company, something that everyone can rally around. And
Okay.
then we also established what I'm calling some strategic priorities that are a focus for us. So that's what the last 6 months has looked like for me. Outside of that, I continue to be on the road traveling quite a bit, still engaging with credit union leaders, with leagues, tons of events, etc. Beyond that, it's been pretty light for the last 6 months.
Pretty light. Very nice.
sure.
Let's expand on the credit union angle here, because in our last interview, you and I talked about some of the challenges credit union CEOs were facing. Now, you were talking about, at the time, digital member experiences, liquidity, and attracting a new generation of members. So it sounds like you have continued talking with credit union CEOs about those challenges, yeah?
Absolutely. And unfortunately, those items that we talked about 6 months or so ago, Michael,
Hmm.
they haven't changed.
Okay.
Mm,
Those are still some pretty significant challenges that we're facing as a movement. I would throw in when you think about the regulatory environment and some of the
Hmm.
challenges that are going on in that regard, there's a number of headwinds that we're facing as a movement, as a credit union system overall. I'll name a couple just to give you some specifics.
Sure.
Think about what's going on right now with the interchange fees,
Hmm.
the Credit Card Competition Act, and just the
mhm,
impact that could have on the credit union movement as a whole. You think about the digital journey piece that we talked about 6 months ago, and the need for us to really find a way to attract newer members into the system to help them understand why credit unions exist and the overall mission, the whole people
Hmm.
helping people approach, helping them to understand that. The liquidity challenges, I think, have begun to improve depending on who you talk to,
Yeah.
but
mhm,
lending is still down
Yep.
mm,
across the system as a whole overall. So we've got a number of challenges that we continue to face into. And as I've said many times, our goal is to be part of the solution. Our goal is to be a partner that's at the table to help the collective solve some of these challenges that we know are coming towards us.
Yeah.
And so just to follow up on that, Terrence, I guess how is TruStage being part of the solution, being a real partner at the table, like you just said? How are you going to do that and help credit unions address some of those key challenges?
It's a really fair question. I've made this comment a number of times over the last 6 to 9 months or so, is that to me, being a partner means more than just writing a check. Being
Right.
a partner means that not only are you contributing financially, but you are also finding ways to engage, to contribute time, energy, effort, resources to really support whatever the cause is. Example that I'll give here, I was fortunate at my first GAC conference. I was able to go onto the stage, Jim Nussel,
Hmm.
and was able to present a check to America's Credit Union, that $250,000 check that was meant to aid in the efforts around the interchange piece that I mentioned a few moments ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So not only did we contribute financially, our government relations teams are in constant communication with Jim's team, trying to find ways to ensure that we capitalize on our relationships with elected officials whom we have good relationships with to ensure that we're doing our part to educate them
Hmm.
about the implications of these changes and what it would do to the credit union movement as a whole and how it would impact individual consumers who there's a desire to help, but how it could hurt them in many instances. So again, it's not just writing the check, but it's about using your resources, your partnerships, and finding ways to engage and really be committed to an effort. And I actually take great pride in the fact that we do much more than just write a check, that when we commit to something, we're truly engaged and involved.
I want to talk about employee culture for a moment. When you stepped into this leadership role, did you have a vision for employee culture at TruStage?
I would say that when I stepped in, which would have been May of last year,
Yeah.
actually, I don't know that I had a vision for the culture.
Okay.
I would answer that saying that just based on my experiences, there were certain attributes about culture that I know are winning attributes. And that is when employees truly feel committed to your mission,
Yeah.
when they feel a connection point to your cause and what
Mhm.
you're trying to do, when they feel this level of commitment to the differences that you're trying to make through your solutions or your products. So I've known that when you have those things, that's a huge positive
Yeah.
overall. And my suspicion, as I did all of my research on what was then CUNA Mutual Group, was that there was this level of commitment from our employees. That no matter what I read or no matter what I came across, I was able to find data and info on employee engagement and the commitment to DEI and the commitment to the credit union movement, commitment to making a difference for middle market consumers.
Mhm.
And all of those things over the last almost year now, all of those things have simply proven to be true.
Okay.
I couldn't be more thrilled with those aspects of our culture. We are very much a caring culture who's committed to our mission, who really wants to help that middle market consumer that's so important to all of us.
Is there anything about the culture at True States that you're working on, potentially changing, adjusting, shifting a little bit?
I would say that I want to ensure that we continue to maintain all the great things that make us who we are,
Okay.
while also evolving to take us to the next level. So I often talk about what is a winning culture. A winning culture, from a performance standpoint, has a high level of accountability.
Mhm.
They are very tactical in developing specific action plans to get to a stated outcome. They are very comfortable with pivoting and coming up with alternative pathways when something is off track. They report the score and they understand the score and they drive actions to get to the desired score. Again, all for the benefit of the middle market consumer.
Yeah, yeah.
So, change, that's a strong word, but evolve, I definitely believe that we have an opportunity to evolve that culture to ensure that we are really demonstrating at all levels in the company what a true winning culture really means when it comes to accountability, performance, etc.
All right.
Yeah, and Terrence, to follow up on the culture question, I wanted to ask you about remote work. So this obviously was a big thing, when we went through the pandemic, everyone went remote even for a short amount of time. And it's been interesting to see, in the past few years who's been really pushing for back to the office, who's decided, hey, this was working well to have employees work remotely or at least have the option. So what's your philosophy on that? What's the current policy for remote or hybrid work at TruStage? And then what's your overall philosophy on it? Do you think it's a good practice to continue now that we're post-pandemic?
That has been the number one question
Oh,
that
okay.
I continue to
Yeah.
receive from employees. Even a year later, I'm still getting that question more so than anything else. Not about, hey, the vision. It's about, hey, are you going to make us come back?
Yeah.
So we are a remote workforce. So our employees are not required to show up in the office. We leave it to each leader to make decisions about when they have a desire to pull their
Mhm,
teams in. So we're a complete remote
mhm,
workforce. There are huge pluses about being a remote workforce. It means that when you're recruiting for a job, your pool of candidates goes up
mhm,
Oh, yeah.
significantly because if I'm trying to hire a role in Madison, Wisconsin, and I need the person to live there, it limits me to the people that I can
Mhm.
attract. Whereas if it's in a remote workforce, you can attract literally from anywhere. So there's some huge pluses around a remote workforce that we feel really good about. There are also some challenges that you have to continuously assess and really understand. And we were talking about culture in the first couple of questions. How does one maintain a culture, or how does one find ways to evolve or tweak or
Mhm.
shift a culture if the workforce is 100% distributed? That can be a
mhm,
challenge. So, what we're trying to do is really live into the best of both worlds, maintain our current approach to being a remote workforce, but find ways to create scenarios that bring people together. So, example, in fact, every month we do something called
Mhm.
TruStage Day. And TruStage Day is when we identify a specific day of the week that we encourage and invite all of our employees to come into the office. And we try to wrap certain events and certain things around that day. We'll do an all employee meeting during those sessions. This week, we're doing a community activity
Mhm.
event, trying to encourage people to come into the office. So the goal is to try to find ways to create events that draw people into the office
Yeah.
periodically to ensure that we're maintaining that culture piece that I referenced earlier. And then the other thing that we're doing that I'm pretty excited about is we've established these groups that are all over the country called city hubs. And a city hub is where there is a concentrated group of TruStage employees, and we are encouraging them to
Mm.
connect and to
Hmm.
get together periodically. So when I'm out on my travels, I usually will try to have lunch or breakfast or something with a city hub. So, example, I was in New York City a couple weeks ago, I believe it was, and had lunch with the city hub group there. I did the same thing a month or so ago in New Orleans with that group, and I've done it in Austin and other places. So, city hubs is one concept that we're testing to try to find ways to create that belonging that I believe is necessary for employees, even when they are remote.
That is really fascinating. Also, you should
Yeah.
start your own airline with all these hubs.
I love that idea, and I'll just say
I do too.
I would love it. I mean, if CU Times had staff big enough, that'd be great because I would be the only Western United States city hub by myself, but, you know
Right, right,
no,
right.
I love that idea. That is awesome.
So let's talk about your campus, talking about bringing people to kind of the headquarters there in Madison. I'm on the east side. Occasionally I do drive by your headquarters there. What is kind of the current status of the new campus? I know construction continues. So what's happening there right now?
We continue to be excited about the Lighthouse, our new facility on
Right.
campus there. It's a beautiful facility that was really done in an exceptional way from a construction standpoint. So we're excited about that. And we have a great auditorium there that allow us to conduct all employee meetings and a number of other things. Our cafeteria is there, et cetera.
Uh-huh.
But what I'm most proud of and I'm most excited about is our vision for the Lighthouse isn't just that this is a structure for TruStage use, but it's also meant to be a community hub, if you will. In
Hmm.
the first quarter of this year, we have allowed 10 different community events to be held at the Lighthouse. So if a community or a nonprofit group has a desire to host an event, we welcome them to our campus to have their event there, allowing us to really, again, just be part of the community and play a role in helping to bring groups together, et cetera. So that's something I'm proud of. But beyond that, on campus, we also are removing one of the buildings,
Yep.
5710 building that has been there for a number of years. We're in the process of removing that structure. Demolition has been underway now since last fall, I believe. The
Hmm.
plan is for it to be demolition to be complete by June of this year. A lot of work going on there. And this is an interesting one because the method that we used wasn't just kind of bring in a wrecking ball or bring in dynamite, however they demolish buildings. The building
Hmm.
was literally taken apart and
Yeah.
the various pieces were shipped out to ensure that we are doing our part to not contribute to landfills or not contribute from an environmental standpoint pieces that
Sure.
could
Sure.
cause harm or danger, et cetera. So it's an interesting approach that I can't take credit for. It started before my time, but it's a really cool approach to taking this building apart. Now it's taken longer because of that.
Yeah,
Had
yeah,
we
yeah.
simply brought in the dynamite or whatever, it would have been gone by now. But it's taken longer and will be done this summer because of the approach that we've used to take it apart. And we think that's the right approach from an environmental standpoint. And we don't have any plans to construct another building there. That's going to be open green space
Oh,
once that
wow.
is taken apart because we want our employees to be able to kind of look out and see this beautiful landscape, the beautiful greenery, as opposed to just a number of buildings on campus. And because of the prior question that we talked about, that we're a remote workforce, we don't have the same need that we did 10 years ago as well.
Just for clarity for the audience perspective, you mentioned it's 5710, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, the 5710 building, that's where CUNA was headquartered in Madison, Woku, the foundation. There were a lot of people that used to be in that old building.
Yes, I've heard about that.
Yeah.
But thanks for that clarification. I'm used to referring to them all by the number as
Of
opposed
course.
to.
No, I think it's very exciting. It's a big space, and if it's all going to be green space, that's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely so. We're excited about it. And hopefully you'll stop, Michael, at least you're local. You'll stop by there this summer once we're done and we'll take a tour of
Absolutely.
We need a travel budget so I can get out there too. It sounds like a
it.
lovely space, you know? And hey, and it's another benefit of remote work is it's good for the environment, right?
There you
There you
go.
go.
Agreed.
Okay, so next, Terrence, I wanted to ask you a little bit about branding. So It's been interesting in the credit union industry. We've seen a lot of new names, not just credit unions, but America's credit unions. Recently, we heard of Valera as the new name for PSU and co op solutions. And so last year, I think it was just before you came on board, TruStage transitioned to its new brand. It dropped CUNA Mutual Group. So I just wanted to ask you a little bit about that. I know some of it might have been maybe before your time, but why do you think it's important, first of all, for a company to undergo a brand change and a new name periodically? And why do you think it was important for TruStage specifically?
As someone who has spent time in my career leading marketing organizations, I'm a big proponent in the fact that brand matters. Brand matters. Particularly when you are an organization like TruStage or an organization like CUNA Mutual Group, who had acquired a number of different companies over the prior decade or so, and really allowed those companies to operate independently and to go to market using prior brands. So as a result of that, we were a hodgepodge or a collection of brands.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So that is in essence how we were operating, I'd say pre-May of 2023. In fact, we went to market with, I think the number was 12 or 13 different brands overall.
Wow.
And while that is appropriate when there are no threads of connectivity between those solutions or
Hmm.
between the products that those companies offer, but if there's a desire to begin thinking about the organization as one and serving all the needs of that end middle market member or middle market consumer, it can create confusion in the marketplace
Mhm.
when you go to market under all of these different brands. So the catalyst, as I understand it, around this change was to mitigate some of the confusion in the marketplace about who
Yeah.
we are,
Hmm.
to land on one brand that would be representative of all of the many, many, many products and solutions that we offer. And then that would allow us to start thinking differently about that end middle market consumer. So, not thinking of them through the lens of this business or this company sells one product to them and then we move on and never see them again, but thinking about them holistically to understand all of their needs and how might we, in partnership with credit unions mostly, how might we play a role in serving all of their needs, whether it be life insurance, auto insurance, debt protection insurance,
Yeah.
gap coverage, all the many things we do. How do we begin to think about that consumer more, I often say, horizontally instead of vertically?
Mm.
So, all of those are the reasons why the brand change came about. And as I've said many times, May of last year was just the beginning of this. I would also say it was the easy part
Hmm.
because that is where we changed the signs, we changed logos, we changed what was on business cards.
Yeah.
But now we're in this era of how do we begin to think differently as a company?
Mhm.
How do we begin to think as one true stage as opposed to a collection of 12 companies? And that's the phase that we're in right now. And that's a large part of the vision that we're creating for the future of the organization is to think in that horizontal manner about that end consumer through that lens.
You've had other leadership roles in the insurance industry, and I kind of wanted to ask, you're a real veteran of the insurance industry. Your resume is outstanding, but
Thanks.
this is your first part of your life that you spent inside the credit union industry. Is there anything you found out since stepping into the role that has genuinely surprised you about the industry?
There are a number of items that have been surprises for me. And I've made this comment often that I come from an industry, the insurance business, where historically you weren't sitting down with someone that could arguably be your competitor
Yeah.
and having a conversation around how are you addressing this issue. And I go to several CEO roundtables a month. And I'm usually sitting at a table with the credit union CEOs from different companies.
Hmm.
And they are all talking about how do we solve problems
Hmm.
together. That's unique. That's different. And I don't know that we really talk enough about that as a movement because that is definitely unique. So that's a difference. That's a surprise.
Yeah.
But the one area that there was a level of familiarity for me was the what I call just the whole cooperative spirit, people helping
Mhm.
people.
Hmm.
Because I spent a couple of decades working for an insurance company who was greatly, deeply aligned with the agricultural sector and the farm bureaus.
Hmm.
And I often say that what True Stage is to credit unions nationwide is to the agricultural sector. So work with farm bureaus, work with co-ops, work with groups in a very similar manner to how
Yeah.
TruStage engages with the credit union system. So there were some surprises and pleasant surprises, I might add, but there were also some similarities from my prior experiences.
Very good.
Right. And Terrence, just going back again to the topic of your vision and kind of how you're looking towards the future now that you have, 6 months under your belt in the role. You did talk a little bit, I know, in some of our previous questions about your vision for the future of TruStage. Just recently, you talked about kind of building horizontally in nature at the organization. So, wondering if you could just maybe elaborate on that a little bit more, just kind of looking, ahead down the road from the big picture. What does your vision look like for the future of TruStage?
Really fair question. That is another question that I got a lot when I first started with the company.
Right.
Yeah.
When I would be out in the field in the marketplace, that's the first question I would get. And I would always say, hey, give me a little bit of time. Right now, I'm just listening. I'm just learning, just
Of
understanding.
course.
But that work that I mentioned earlier in this interview that the leadership team and I did over the last several months, the offsite meetings that we conducted, examining the strengths and weaknesses and all those things, that led to us establishing an enterprise vision. And, think about it. A vision is something that's aspirational. It's something that's meant to unite the company around a common pathway. And we've established a vision, and that vision is to be the most trusted and accessible provider of financial protection to middle market consumers through our partners. Now, that's a mouthful, but there's several words in there that are really important through my lens, at least. Number one, trust. We believe that there's an ability for us to enhance and build more trust with middle market consumers. That means creating products that are affordable. It means meeting them where they are. It means ensuring that we are not using the vernacular that confuses people or that causes lack of understanding around what we do, but really being clear and speaking in just clear terms about what we do overall and creating that trust. And then accessible is, as the word implies there, just ensuring that we're meeting people where they are, whether that's digitally, whether it's in a branch, whether it is over the phone, but really being accessible to however someone wants to connect with us. And then really clear in who we're after. The middle market consumer is our target customer. We believe this customer is not being pursued by a number of financial services organizations in our country, and believe that this customer has gaps in protection when you think about the number of people that are underinsured or uninsured. So we believe that this aligns with our mission to ensure that we're trying to find ways to protect that customer. And then lastly, through partners, meaning our credit union partners, ensuring that we continue to align ourselves with the movement overall to ensure that we are finding ways to engage and connect with that end consumer through our partners in the credit union system. So that's the vision for the organization. And we've established some key priorities, things that are super important to us. And we've established some long-term goals and objectives, et cetera. So that's more or less how I would answer your question around vision.
So, in your history, you've been involved with Big Brothers Big Sisters as a mentor to undergraduates. I believe at your alma mater, University of South Carolina. Are you still doing that? Are you still serving as a mentor in any capacity?
Yes, I've actually been serving as a mentor in some form or some capacity for past 30 years, maybe more
Oh,
than that,
wow.
in some form or fashion. And yes, I've got some history working with Big Brothers Big Sisters in a couple of different markets. And currently, through a program at the University of South Carolina, I mentor an undergraduate student. And we connect and engage every 3 or 4 weeks to just talk about what's going on in their world. I share my business perspective
Hmm.
around what's happening, et cetera. And it's something that I gain fulfillment from. I
Yeah.
genuinely enjoy being able to engage with others, just at times, just to share my journey, to share my perspective, or to share some of the road that I've traveled. And I believe you learn a lot by hearing about someone else's journey and the process they've gone through to reach whatever stage they've reached in life. So, yeah, mentoring is something that's important to me, that I've been committed to for many, many, many years, and will always be committed to. In fact, many years down the road when I
Yeah.
retire, and note I'm saying many years down the road for that,
Yes.
I'll have even more time to dedicate to this topic that I believe is super important to me.
Just a quick follow up to that, but how many people do you think you've been a mentor to then? If you're talking 30 years?
Wow. I'd have to think about that, Michael, but it's a pretty sizable
I would
number.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been a big in a couple of different markets over the years.
Yeah.
I have always mentored people through South Carolina, et cetera. But even in the corporate world,
Hmm.
I've often served at prior companies. I would serve as a mentor to five, six, seven people. So I don't know the number, but it would be a pretty sizable number because I can't remember a time when I haven't had a mentee.
Yeah.
I've always had a mentee whether that be an undergraduate student or a professional who I'm just helping to provide guidance to from a career track standpoint, or formally with an organization like Big Brothers Big Sisters. So maybe I've said this to you before, Michael. I believe that I am a product of mentoring.
Yeah.
I am a product of mentoring. So I just believe I have a responsibility or a duty to ensure that I'm paying it forward, to make sure that I'm doing my
Hmm.
part, to do what others did for me as I was kind of growing up corporate.
Right. Well, and that was actually gonna be my follow-up question was if you can think back to when you were the mentee, can you tell us a little bit about that time period? Who were your most influential mentors while you were kind of rising in your career?
I'll give two quick answers to that. One would be kind of pre-corporate and then corporate. And my parents, my mom and
Oh,
dad.
Oh,
I'm blessed in that my dad is 86, my mom is 82, and they have had the largest influence on who I am as a man, as a leader, as a father, just the whole nine, everything. And they have literally, by watching them when I was a kid growing up, it helped me to understand the importance of giving back, the importance of community betterment, and why what we do matters. Not just making a living, but trying to be a difference maker, so to speak. So definitely my mom and dad from a personal standpoint.
uh-huh.
From a corporate standpoint, I've had many mentors over the years, but one person that I've always called out during these types of conversations, an individual that worked with me at Nationwide for many, many years. She's retired now. She ran the HR area for the enterprise there, and she was a huge mentor to me in identifying me as a high potential talent when I was kind of a young pup growing up corporately,
Hmm.
and has always been someone who has influenced my thinking, my perspective, and one of those people who can kind of really keep it real with you and pull you aside and say, Terrence, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That kind of mentor. Her name is Gail King, by the way, and not the Gail King that's on television.
Okay.
But yeah, that's someone who I often talk about as a huge influence on me from a corporate standpoint.
It sounds like your work mom, you know?
That's a great example. I completely agree with you. Now, I don't know that she would appreciate it being
No,
described that way,
yeah. Right, right.
but I agree with you.
Okay. Let's slide into this last part. These are just a handful of questions just about you.
Okay,
I want to ask something first. Doing some research,
sure.
there aren't enough Terrences in this world. Do you agree? You know, there just aren't.
That's a tough one, Michael.
I,
There aren't enough Terrences in this world. I often say that I am the product of a strong family foundation, mom and dad,
yeah.
the product of mentoring and
Hmm.
people who have aided me along the way, and just someone who has been blessed and who has had good breaks for them over his career.
I love it.
So I don't know that there's anything unique beyond those items I just shared about
Well, again, when I think of the name Terrence, I think of you and then Terrence Trent D'Arby, Wishing Well.
me.
Great song.
I remember that song.
That was a great song. Okay. Anyway, about you here.
Yes.
You attended University of South Carolina, as you mentioned. Are you originally from Columbia or somewhere else?
No, I grew up in a town outside of Charleston, South Carolina. So,
okay.
a small town that is about 90 minutes from Columbia. So, yeah, I only had a short trek to get to where I went to college.
What's the name of your hometown?
Ridgeville, Ridgeville.
Okay, great.
Ridgeville, South Carolina.
What is your favorite thing about your hometown? And do you go back and visit ever?
I do go back on occasion, not nearly as often as I should. I still have
Hmm.
some relatives there, aunts and cousins, etc. What I loved about my hometown when I was a kid growing up was, and this will really sound kind of Pollyanna, but it was really the small town where everyone knew everyone, where
Okay,
everyone could depend on everyone else. If there was an issue, it was a challenge. It was this
sure.
collective community feel to my
Hmm.
hometown back then. Now it's grown, it's changed a lot from when I was a
Sure.
kid, but that's one of the things that was always appealing about growing up in a small hometown.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, next question, kind of a silly one, but I feel like insurance companies and commercials are very synonymous. There's just so many insurance commercials. So, as a high level insurance executive, which American insurance company do you think has the best TV commercial?
Oh goodness, you guys really want to get me in trouble with her, huh?
Well, you're
Oh,
a branding guy, you know?
Brand
So,
truly matters. Maybe I'll answer it this way: the industry, the reason why you feel that insurance and advertising and commercials are synonymous is because the industry spends literally billions and billions of dollars on advertising.
Hmm.
Mhm.
It's the reason why you can't watch a football game or a basketball game without seeing a half dozen insurance ads.
Yeah.
It's because of the spend levels that are going on. And rather than me name a brand and get me in
Okay.
trouble, I
Okay.
will say what's important about branding. Because sometimes people feel that if they simply create something that is kind of funny, then that hits the mark. And I would say that it has to be much broader than that. An effective ad does several things. Number one, it creates an emotional connection with your target customer. Number two, it's memorable in that the consumer really understands that that ad was for TruStage, not a competitor. And three,
Hmm.
it's something that is memorable. And when that desire to shop pops into your head, you think of that brand. So, what the marketing teams are trying to do is to hit and nail the threads on everything I just said:
Hmm.
relatable, memorable, that they associate it with this brand, etc. And there are a number of companies out there that are doing a really, really good job in this space right now. And lastly, I would say that I've always been partial to jingles because I
Okay.
believe a jingle is easily remembered. The consumers will kind of almost kind of just link it to your brand and know that it's you and not one of your competitors. So I'm a proponent in jingles, but that's as far as I'll go in answering my question.
Speaking of, ever since you mentioned Nationwide, I have had that in my head for this entire interview. So it's
Yep.
very sticky, very sticky.
There you go.
Yeah.
Next time we have you on, Terrence, we're going to spend a half hour talking about why the Geico cavemen was a terrible idea. So,
I actually forgot about that one. Oh
oh
gosh. Yeah, that
God,
was
they tried to make a TV show out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go. Okay, Terrence. Speaking of Terrence Trent D'Arby, what was the first album you ever bought
Oh, wow. The first album.
or listened to?
Let's see. So I grew up, kind of came of age in the 80s.
Yeah.
Kind of pretty transparent now about how old I am,
Hmm.
but grew up in the 80s and rap music was just coming onto the scene back
Sure.
Yeah.
then. And I was a huge fan of Run DMC. Go
Yeah.
back and think about, the My Adidas and Sucker
Yeah.
MC and all of those songs. So I'd say that my answer would be Run DMC.
Uh,
One of my first albums, first kind of highly sought after music groups, etc.
Great answer. Did you also have parachute pants?
Never. I
Okay,
can
great.
attest to that. Never. You
Yeah.
you will never find a picture or photo of me in parachute pants anywhere ever.
Great. Good.
Okay.
That was atrocious. Nice answer. I love Run DMC. They were great.
Oh yeah, for sure. Agreed.
All right, and final question here. We like to ask all of our guests this question. What was the last movie you watched?
Oh, so I have this habit of great movies that I really love. I'll rewatch them every couple of years or so.
Hmm.
And
Sure.
I just recently rewatched Ford versus Ferrari.
Oh,
I'm
Okay.
a car person. I love cars. I think that movie came out about 18, 19, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah.
But just a great movie. Matt Damon played
Hmm.
Carroll Shelby. It kind of chronicles the story of when Ford developed a race car to take on Ferrari at
Hmm.
the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Just a great, great movie. And I don't think you have to be a car person to really appreciate that
Yeah.
movie. But I just rewatched that recently. And I'll rewatch it again in 2 or 3 years.
yeah. Well, we'd love to get your list of movies that you rewatch every 3 years. Sounds like it'd be a good list if they're that deserve that
Absolutely.
much time. Yeah.
Definitely so.
Right. All right. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Terrence, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time and, getting to know you. And so glad to hear everything's going well at TruStage.
Hey, always good to connect with you folks. I listen to and read everything you guys do and appreciate what you do for the credit union movement as a whole. And always a pleasure to be on your show. So thank you.
Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you, Terrence. Let's stay in touch.
Absolutely.
And for all of our listeners, please subscribe to Shared Accounts with CU Times anywhere you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever. You know how this works. And if you'd like to rate us, we would love your feedback. And for those of you with questions or comments, feel free to email me over at nchillingarian@cutimes.com, or you can email Michael at mogden@cutimes.com.
Also, this month, exclusively in our executive briefing for subscribers only, we're focused on credit card data and what it shows credit unions about what members want. Subscribe to our executive briefing at cutimes.com/subscribe, a new topic each month. Check it out at cutimes.com/subscribe. Thank you so much to our producer, Zach Nyheisel. Thanks, Zach. Join us again next week for a new episode of Shared Accounts with CU Times. Until then, thanks for listening.